I don't think I ever really believed everything.
And I realized that quite a few of the things didn't hold water.
The actual religions were man-made from wherever.
God? Who's God? What's God?
I think that skepticism really is the first step.
Scientific zest and zeal for the real world.
That was it. I was an atheist from then on.
Something that this is it. There's nothing else, and we have to be good for everybody.
Hi, I'm Red.
Hi, I'm Susan, and this is our friend Carol here to tell us about Atheism, which in case was fairly short. All right, we'll start at the beginning. You were born?
I now understand that everybody was born an atheist, but I continued.
You continued.
My parents, they were atheists.
And you were born and raised in Manhattan?
In Manhattan, the Upper West Side.
No nabe?
No names.
Yes, yes, so it was all very mixed, like most of Manhattan, or?
I guess so. I really didn't know the people in the... I knew my school friend.
Yeah, no, that's how it usually goes.
Went to private school?
Yes.
Okay.
Ethical culture.
Yes, very good school.
And
an atheist, as Garrison Keillor said, ethical culture is for AWC, and the audience went silent, and he said, atheists with children.
Well, it must be true, yeah. Because I know several people who've gone there, and you were never ever tempted by religion?
Well, just at Passover.
Just at Passover, yes.
I began
the food's
to
good.
Well, the wine. I discovered the wine at about 8. The other children had grape juice. I had wine.
Oh, lucky. They were good parents.
Yeah.
That's very good.
And you learned a little about other religions, too?
Yes. My parents gave me a book on other religions.
That was very smart of them.
When I learned how to read. But it only had Jews and Protestants and Catholics, no Buddhists or Islam or anything like that.
No other books on other mythologies? Or?
Well, in school we did Greek mythologies, Greek plays, which is still part of me. It really enriched my life.
Yes, yes.
The Greek
very
mythology.
The philosophy,
No, not that deep. Just the plays.
The plays that are
Lysistrata.
That's always
that is a panic.
That is, yeah.
Your association with the ethical culture, the children of your age at that time, have you seen them since? Are they still around?
I don't see that many anymore.
You don't see that many? Okay. The neighborhood has changed?
Well, it's not a neighborhood.
People grow up and move away.
We're talking 70 years ago,
Right, okay. As you know, New York City, as I mentioned, is a cosmopolitan type place. So you will have a melting pot. You will have people from all over.
Yes, well, that's what I love about
change every now and then, and that's okay. That demographics change, and sometimes that's healthy when that happens. Your philosophical outlook on life as far as atheism is concerned, could you give us an idea?
I don't consider myself a philosopher, but the business about death, I am afraid of death, I have to admit, but when I was a child, my mother would explain, that since we don't believe in an afterlife, we have to make this life good, not only for us, but for other people.
Very good. That's a beautiful philosophy.
And you always see, I still see it, that if there's a beggar or a musician or someone in the street, the adult will give the child the money to
teach, and that's a good way to learn.
And this was really something that this is it. There's nothing else, and we have to be good for everybody.
Well, as I understand Judaism, they really don't go into an afterlife that much.
I can never find anyone to tell me. I don't know.
It's Christianity that's really made this whole...
does that, exactly. I think the Jews are more interested in a philanthropical point of view, which you just mentioned.
In what you do with your life rather than...
what you do with your life and helping others to achieve something.
And now this was during the war.
Yes.
So we had this gloom over us.
Yes, understandable.
5 years of...
From World War II, yes. Yeah. So your ideas are basically from that point of view. Have you ever looked at the Bible? Have you ever looked at that?
Oh, that was another...
The Torah?
No. But
That's the Old Testament.
I know. I'm like that too.
my mother gave me a children's Bible and bribed me to read it, like a dime, which was big dough back then.
Yes.
And I read it many, many times to get this dime and sort of became an expert, and I really knew a lot. I mean, we're talking a long time ago, and I forget it now, but I really knew a lot about the Bible.
Well, a lot of people say that, they tell atheists that, read the Bible, you'll become a Christian. And I go, I've read the Bible, it sort of confirmed my atheism.
That's right.
Well, this is a children's Bible,
Yes.
so it didn't have gruesome things.
Yes.
So you never went from the children's Bible to the
I always meant to, like you mean to read
You
Shakespeare.
didn't miss much, yeah.
And you don't.
Well, you didn't really miss much. You'll find there's a lot of contradictions in there, but we won't get into that.
No.
You mentioned earlier that after college you had a discussion with a Jesuit and you won it, you feel?
An argument with the Jesuit, which I didn't know that they were so brilliant at everything. And I had never, finally, I kept on saying, but what proof do you have?
Yes.
The Bible.
And I'd say, but that doesn't mean anything. And finally he told me this expression that I had never heard, that there's a leap of faith involved. And I said, so now I know where you're coming from, and I'm not coming from there.
Yeah,
and I feel I won.
I think you did.
Yes.
You read right up there and said, show me the proof. What proof do you have?
But can you imagine? I'd never heard that expression.
Leap of faith.
Yeah, I think this is something. I think this is a point of education and knowledge right there. I think that a lot of people could use, especially those who are on that precipice, the turning point as to whether they're going to go one way or the other, or come out of the proverbial closet. And that is the type of questions that you should ask are, what proof do you have? For those people who are very religious, what proof? And the first thing they're going to say is the Bible. Okay? Whether it's the Torah, the Old Testament, or the New. They're going to say it's the Bible. And that's where you can say, well, that's nice. But there are over 740 different contradictions in the Bible, a lot of plagiarism and things that are absolutely wrong. Okay? They're nice stories and parables, but there's no proof, there's no evidence, nothing.
And why this set of Bronze Age mythology should be real ones as opposed to all the other lovely Bronze Age mythologies.
Right. But I think it's a good idea to know the Bible. It is our culture.
It is.
It's our culture.
The culture is good. Except for when you have the Maccabees or you have a group killing each other.
Well, no, I don't go
then
for
that's
that.
not so good.
No.
Actually,
And
Isaac Asimov said, properly read, the Bible is the best way to atheism.
That's right. And especially in the New Testament Revelations. That's the quickest way to atheism. Absolutely the quickest way.
Yes.
But these are things where you start to use reason and you do what's called deductive reasoning, or you're then able to say, well, let's look at from this point of view, and you work yourself down from there and you say it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And when you hear more about science, you can definitely see the chasm, the spread of what's real and what's not real.
And if you have a leap of faith, you go, boom.
That's right.
But I have to say, I really did enjoy and believe in Passover. I don't know why.
Well, it's a culture. It's a group. You meet each other. We get together. You will recite certain things. That's okay. True or not true, it's okay.
And
it's a celebration.
But
It's a celebration.
I felt it was true.
Okay. Well, that's okay at the time to do that.
There might be a grain of truth in the whole story about, some Jews leaving Egypt, but the rest of it's
the whole
probably...
business, the Red
40 years,
Sea, everything,
no.
the frogs, everything.
Well,
Right.
get that later.
So you see, it's not so difficult to be interviewed here.
I don't know. Are we through?
No.
We're not through.
So your family is, I don't know, are you married, have children?
I'm a widow. I don't
You're
have
widowed.
children.
You don't have, and your husband was also an atheist?
I'm not sure. He was brought up Catholic, but he didn't really care.
One way or the other.
One way.
When did you join New York City Atheists?
A couple of years ago. I forget how I heard about it.
Did anything push you to do it?
No. I had never heard of it. The minute I saw the word atheist.
Was your husband alive at the time?
No.
Okay. Have you ever been to any of our tabling events? You heard
No,
about
I
it?
pass you at Columbus Circle sometimes, but no, I'm sort of, no.
A little bashful to do that.
Not bashful, lazy.
Lazy?
That one's
Yes,
lazy.
yes,
This
yes,
is
yes.
bashful. That's lazy.
Well, you're doing an excellent job.
Yeah, you're doing very well on that. You understand that there are a lot of people that are hesitant. They have some problems trying to come out because one, they could be ostracized due to their family and relatives
Yes.
in the neighborhood, especially like for example, Hasidic Jew. They have to be very, very
Oh, that
careful,
would
and
be
they can't.
tough.
Do
There are
that.
a fair number who
Okay.
are sort of closet atheists
Yeah,
who don't dare
they
come out.
They cannot come out, and not only that, they're told not to watch television or read certain publications.
Well,
Now-
but they're living in a community, and that must be very, very difficult.
It's
is,
very
it
difficult
is.
because they have to follow that narrow road to maintain the
Mormons
status. in
too.
there.
I think it's very
Mormons
sad.
have to do the same
But
thing.
there are closet atheists among the Mormons.
But it must be
there
very
It
tough.
is tough.
Okay.
I have had no problem with this.
What about with employment? Have you ever had any problems in the past? Or
I would say that everybody knows
that you could
everybody.
say or could not say certain things.
I think everybody knew. It wasn't a big deal.
Had anyone ever tried and convert you?
Every now and then, I think someone is trying to, but
The local
Just makes
rabbi.
no impression on you so that you don't realize it.
generally not.
Yeah. Well, as I said,
And
we're
what
lucky.
about what about your neighbors? What about your friends, your personal friends? They understand.
Some are religious and some aren't.
Okay, well, that cause no problem.
No, I'd say not.
Okay, I think that's another thing to mention. The fact is that you will have friends, and those friends usually stay with you, unless they're absolutely against anybody that's an atheist.
I mean,
or
they go
something
to
like that.
church and they know
But they're
that
still
I'm an
friends.
atheist.
But they're
of
still
course.
your friends.
I went to a friend's daughter's christening, and since I think that, Nancy was about 2, so I lived in the neighborhood, and they invited me. And during the service, this young man was shoving the hymnal at me, and I'm saying, "Get lost!" And afterwards, I said to my friends, "This guy was trying to convert me." And the husband said, girls go to church every week for somebody to share a hymnal with them. And it happens to you the first time out, and you tell them to go to hell.
You didn't understand what was going on.
I didn't realize that we were flirting.
Right.
Yes.
Or they just wanted to share the book with you, and that's a form of flirt. But it could also be a warm type thing of neighbors sharing different things.
But I took it very negatively. But he said, girls do this for months, and nobody ever offers that. So,
Okay.
but they weren't offended at me.
No, and did you stay with? I mean, did you know the little girl as she grew up?
Oh,
and
yes,
things?
she's now a mother, and I was
Is she still Catholic?
not Catholic.
Oh,
She was
wrong
pri-
christening.
She was a Presbyterian.
Presbyterian.
Presbyterian. Okay. Ken, do you have any questions?
You said before that you have fear of death.
I do.
Why?
You won't know what happens.
I don't. I don't.
Pain? You think you may go through pain?
Well, pain, yes, of course. Just sort of not being here is
Okay. Well,
scary.
you know what? Before you were born, do you remember anything?
No.
And that's exactly what would happen when you die. Okay?
I can't be
The only difference is
philosophical
right. The only difference being is that you make a transition coming out of the womb. There's leaving a very warm type of climate coming out into the open. There's that transition. But there's also the transition when going before dying. Is that sometimes the problems of age hurts. It's involved things of that nature. But when you go.
Well, as I get older.
And we say that because we know what happens with the brain. We know what happens with the brain is somebody's brain dead, or somebody who's in a deep coma comes back. There's very little.
Well, basically, the thing we fear most about death, I always think, is a painful one.
Yeah, that's the only thing that would be the transition on that.
We want to go gently into that good night.
Or the brain.
Yeah,
It's scary.
Well, that's about it. But once that happens, it fades away. You fade away with thoughts. I think a medical person would be more likely to tell you that and tell you the what's involved with that. But generally, as we understand it, the transition, once you are beyond pain and you die. That's it. Okay,
Well,
so
that's
it's
why
not,
you should
it's
enjoy
not that
life.
you're going to have to run around when you're dead.
Or as I say,
something
eat
like that.
dessert first.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we do say in the program. Okay. Any other questions? Any?
A few minutes left. Do you have any advice of people who are atheists?
Or on the cusp of becoming atheist?
No, I found no problem. You know, I think New York City is special. I mean, on jury duty, sometimes I swear, sometimes I affirm. Nobody pays any attention to it. I think it's just different here. Again, as you talk about the Hasids or the Mormons, I mean, that's awful. You're leaving a community.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of restrictions with them, you know that.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about the encroachment of religion in America?
Oh, boy, yes. Oh,
Well, that's why I'm here, because they started going after my rights to my own body, and I said I needed allies, and I've been an atheist since I was 10, but it was this...
all that is very
made me join,
distressing.
yes.
And
Even in New York City now with de Blasio, in many of his decisions, for example, he's allowing the Hasidim, like in the area of circumcision,
right,
where they don't even have to have at least Bloomberg, which we didn't agree with, one of the parents have to sign off on it.
I don't know why it's against anyone's religion to sign a release. I assume they sign a release if they go in for an appendectomy.
I assume they don't follow a medical procedure.
Right,
And
but
second, they claim it's a separation of church and state.
Exactly, that's what they claim, and it becomes a religious football before you know it. The influence that's in the New York City can very well be overwhelming, and this is the reason why de Blasio is sort of caving in a little bit on that point of view.
Well, I think he's caved a lot.
Yes.
And aren't some of the
Especially
charter
when-
schools religious? And wasn't there something about schools or religious services in schools? Wasn't
Well,
there?
They allowed now for the staff that the religious charter schools, which mean they get paid, they get their housing or their building paid for
From the public.
from the public,
Oh, yeah.
that they can discriminate on the teachers, that the teachers have to be of a certain faith. Not only that, for example, let's say there's a Catholic charter school. Not only does a person have to be Catholic, they can't have a lifestyle that is not in agreement. So if a person is living with
And this is New York City?
in New York City,
That's
No,
right.
but didn't they have something where some public schools were open for Sunday
They're
services?
talking about when the
That's
speaker
another
came.
fact.
That's another thing.
Yeah, I don't know if that's de Blasio or
No,
whatever.
that's not.
No,
That's
that
not
is
the.
de Blasio
That's
now.
part. That occurred back in California
We went to court over
before
that.
he
We
became
went to court and we had
mayor.
the city actually covered for
That's
that.
right.
Bloomberg was against it. The last case went back and forth, back and forth. The court ruled it's up to the city to make that decision, one way or not. De Blasio wants to do it, so he left it going. But the superintendent of school is against it, so it's just an abeyance. But right now, there are religious services in the auditoriums on Sundays across the. And they get.
No, I'm very distressed about that. Yes.
Well, that's why you're with New York City atheists, and American atheists feel the same way. And we will go to fight for those what we feel is unjust or unconstitutional, as well as the ACLU will do the same too. Sometimes ACLU backs off in certain things, but that's exactly what it's all about. When you have an organization like ours, we discuss these things and we come to conclusions based on that, and we try to stick to that. We have lawyers who will fight for our reason, what we feel is
too bad about
reasonable.
the Trade Center cross.
That's
And three of our members were plaintiffs on that case.
That's right.
And we fought it to the end, but we lost that case.
I don't see what's so special about a cross. I mean, if you ever look at a building under construction, it's full
I
of
think we
crosses.
lost the case because we were not judiciously prepared and willing to stick the neck out in certain things. I don't mean us. It could be the representation of us. And I think I'd rather let it go at that and not get too involved with that. But that's, again, something that we're willing to fight. We're willing to go to the ends of the earth, as it were, the four corners, and stick up for what we consider not just human rights, but civil rights, but in addition to that, the rights that's in the Constitution.
And we look for allies, so we become allies in this movement against
stick with us,
the religious.
Right. Stay with us.
Oh, yes.
Because we are very concerned about that, and we do back it up when we say what we say. Okay.
Anything further?
So.
Linda, any questions?
Oh, I didn't know I was going to do that. I did have them before.
What?
I just had a comment that I don't know if you heard that ethical culture was collapsed Jews and Unitarianism is collapsed Christians.
Yes.
I always consider Unitarian Universalists, it's like a way station.
Yeah.
Where you're religious, but no, you're giving up religion, but you still like that community.
Yeah,
so you go, and then the next step, of course, is atheism. And
I don't like any community. I don't like.
You're an individual.
Well, I try to be. I don't like Super Bowls or Oscars or anything that I call a religion. And there are so many of them.
Oh, yes.
Well, the young, when I say young, I'm talking about those who are post-teens, will tend to say that instead of they belong to any religious affiliation, they are spiritualists. They are very spiritual. What that means, I have no idea, except to say that there might be somebody up there, as they like to say.
But they don't want to be part of these.
We don't stick to any particular culture as far as ceremonial.
But I'm uncomfortable when, with anything, whether it's organic food or, as I say, sports, or I was listening to something about the Olympics today. And I really am uncomfortable with anything like that.
Well, what's nice about
organized.
living in America, that you can be an individual.
Yes,
you don't have to adhere to anything.
I remember my parents were for dinner, I guess in Scarsdale or something, and someone asked my mother what synagogue they belonged to. And she said, we don't. And they were absolutely horrified. And my parents said, but when you live in Manhattan, you don't have to.
Yes.
Right.
And not just Jewish people. I mean, all kinds of people do what they want.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's...
And they're free to belong to, which I'm not...
Which should eventually spread to all of America and hopefully all of the world.
Homogeneous. We would strive for that. You don't necessarily have to belong to any group, even our group. You just have to have your feelings, your faith, as far as your personal faith is concerned, and stick to your rules and your morals, and that's it.
So I'm
that's fair enough.
with
So you're a moral woman, and you're not moral because of the rules in a book, or fear of some imaginary being up there or down there, and
no.
So
and that's what humans should be.
Right. So we're going to give you a chance to speak to the audience out there as to your feelings, as to how you feel. And you might want to leave a message for generally people. You mentioned that you're an individual and that you don't want to necessarily belong to any organization or affiliation.
No, I can't.
You just did. You just did.
I did.
You just
did an excellent job.
You did an excellent job.
Yes.
Excellent.
Are we through?
I want to thank you.
Yes.
We're never through.
Yes, we're never through.
We'll be questions before
But that
and after. Okay.
light is still on.
Oh,
That's right.
okay.
Yes. Say hello to your group. Say goodbye. Okay.
I don't have television. That's another thing.
Well, you have cable. I mean, you have a computer, so you can eventually see this.
Eventually, we're going to be on some platform like YouTube or something similar to that, and you'll be able to look back and listen to that. And we do encourage other people who are listening and watching this to encourage you to come down if you have that. Sort of like on the fence and you're not too sure which way you want to go. Come out of the closet. Come on down, sit down and talk with us. We'll be more than happy to work with you.
Yes.
Okay?
We welcome everyone.
Oh,
go ahead. No. Last words. No, that.
I just don't sense this hostility that the closet and all that.
Not
I don't
here
have
in
that
Manhattan.
sense of
not here in Manhattan, but unfortunately,
unfortunately, places like Kansas City, unfortunately, places like South
the Deep
Carolina,
South.
Unfortunately, the Bible Belt area and areas where they require you to be on the job
or
to pray.
upstate New York.
Upstate New York
Oh,
can
right,
have that.
Grace, New York.
That's
You don't
right.
have to go very far.
That's right. You don't have to really go too far. They have those
Or in Brooklyn.
restrictive type of
Well, I know that
philosophies and attitudes.
I know that Manhattan is in America.
Manhattan is a great place. So
It's not America.
This is the
but I know.
crossroads of America, and that's what it's all about. Thank you very much.
Yes.